Adam predictions again because it's a Monday and we're looking out over the next 2 weeks, which takes us to the end of July practically. Can you believe it? It is flying by. You can, of course, get the 14-day forecast for free right on our app, 5-star rated. Let us know what you think. Keep spreading the word. Our app is free on the App Store and Google Play, but this is the reasoning behind that 14-day forecast and what may change or shift as you take a look at that over the next couple of weeks. We always start with the height to 500 millibars, that layer of the atmosphere, the oranges and darker shaded reds here indicating a warmer layer overall, and the blue and the deeper purples indicating that colder layer of the atmosphere. Now, what you'll notice, similar to the last time we did this, is there's a very zonal flow across the United States, but a lot of us are into the warmth in general, including the West Coast, including us here in the East as well, with Bermuda high pressure, both at the surface and aloft, kind of dragging that warmth along the western periphery of it. The other thing you'll notice, and I've stopped things by the start of next week, is we still have a big upper level low that's going to kind of strengthen and redevelop near the Aleutian Islands. That will promote a ridge out over the Pacific and a little dip that tries to come into the eastern United States. But again, we've got high pressure that's going to slide from Bermuda and then west towards the southeastern United States. A big ridge of it, in fact, towards the tail end of the 2-week period. So one thing I'm going to watch for, both Matt and I, is along this building heat that will encompass much of the country, is that here in New England, you notice we're kind of on the back side of it, which may mean we're on the cooler side, relatively speaking, but may also mean we get these clusters of thunderstorms that ride that ridge of heat and then come into the northeastern United States. So an active pattern will continue with a number of thunderstorm chances. With that zonal flow taking place too, that does mean they're fairly fast-moving disturbances that come in. So in terms of percent chance of precipitation over the next 2 weeks, you'll notice a couple things, right? First is tomorrow, there's still a 40% chance. As a cold front comes in and kind of slows down, that chance is highest over southern New England. And then it does dip down through the middle part of the week. Thursday goes back up. Matt talked about that in Sunday Evening Essentials yesterday, talked about it in Insights this morning. May stay elevated on Friday. Then we get a little dip that comes in just in time for the weekend. The start of the weekend goes back up on Sunday as the next disturbance comes in from west to east. Goes back down for the start of next week and then stays pretty steady with maybe a daily thunderstorm chance. Again, riding along that ridge of heat that will really be intense off to our south and west. So a couple different blips here over the coming days in terms of when that percent chance is higher. The precipitation forecast over the next 10 days is highest in a couple different spots. You'll notice the southeastern United States, and we talked about that too in Insights, with convection. Some of the thunderstorms are going to float over the Sunshine State and then come into the Gulf through the middle and end of this week. Also, the northern plains, the Midwest, and perhaps down to our south. Again, clusters of thunderstorms kind of riding that ridge with a number of fronts that are going to come by in the coming week and 10 days. You'll see it in the surface too pattern that there's a lot of oranges and yellows on the map. There's briefly cooler air that comes into the northern plains over the coming couple of days, but otherwise, look at this all the way through July 22nd, 23rd, a lot of warmth. One thing you'll notice is New England on the cooler side. And what I do want to leave open is a potential that, yes, with that onshore wind, inland cities and towns, kind of like we saw this past weekend, will be warmest, but will be cooler with a more stabilizing flow coming in off the ocean. Towards the end of the period, a lot of us climbing back into the warmth with the most intense heat likely to be found off to our south and west and into the central United States. So next 2 weeks, the hottest couple of days look to be really this week through midweek. And then we dip things back down towards the upcoming weekend, slightly below average for the start of next week. And then we build that warmth back up. Keep in mind, this is a New England-wide average, so at the coast may be cooler, particularly with an onshore flow. Similarly, the overnight lows will peak the next couple of days with that warmth and the humidity in place. And then they do cruise back down a little bit, actually slightly below average for overnight lows, heading into the second half of the weekend, the start of next week, and then back up into the mid to upper 60s for a New England-wide average. So many of you have been asking about the dew point, the humidity. It's been a really sticky stretch, and there's no big-time relief that's coming in over the coming days. In Insights, I showed you there may be some briefly less humid air that comes into northern New England. That's kind of the general case overall. Far north country gets into these little spurts of less humid air. But for a New England-wide average, that dew point staying in the 60s to lower 70s. We may all get a little less humid briefly to start the weekend on Saturday. Then it goes back up. And then there are some signs that Monday and Tuesday of next week, we may get some briefly lower humidity before it builds back up. The 14-day dew point forecast and the 14-day feels like forecast is included if you become a member. We've got 4 different membership tiers. The inside track is our podcast, the enthusiasts you've heard us talking about, beach, boating, golf forecast, 1 degree outside champions for small businesses that may want to shout out and us to link to you as well. All the information right at membership.onedegreeoutside.com. We appreciate the support. We'll see you with more weather tomorrow morning.